When William Samuel Cox first put pen to paper in 1922, he set out about crafting a narrative that would captivate audiences generation after generation. There were tales about the sun and the stars up in the sky, surprise guests who have bolted from the blue, those who came from heaven or made the earth rumble underfoot, and a legend known as Babe, who quite simply flew.
But Dulcify well clear. Brent Thompson going for his fourth Cox Plate. Dulcify's won by a minute.
There were divas and princes and fighting tigers that would roar. Characters came in all shapes and colours, and royalty would enter folklore.
At his 10th start, he wins his second Cox Plate. Bart's done it again.
There were sprightly young maidens and seasoned old warriors, travellers who came from afar to conquer new lands. Weapons always drawn, superheroes at the ready, giants doing battle. 30,000 in the stand.
The roars of the crowd. He races up to our Waverley Star. 100 out. Bone Crusher, our Waverley Star. Stride for stride. Nothing in it. Our Waverley Star, the rails. Bone Crusher, the outside. And Bone Crusher races into equine immortality.
But the story of an immortal was saved for a conquering king.
Kingston Town swamping them. What a run. Kingston Town wins it
And his queen.
Cometh the hour, cometh the legend. Weeks has done it.
The next chapter will soon be written, and is one that must be seen.
Oh, it gives you goosebumps, doesn't it? How exciting, the 100th running of the WS Cox Plate. Welcome from wherever you're watching from to Moonee Valley Racing Club's Ladies' Night In. We're delighted that you're joining us this evening to celebrate what is going to be, look, a different but still an historic two-day event this Saturday and, of course, this Friday night for the 2020 Ladbrokes Cox Plate Carnival. It's already been a huge week. The field announced, the barriers drawn for the 100th running of the WS Cox Plate, and, of course, the perfect entree on Friday night with the 53rd running of the Ladbrokes Manikato Stakes. No spectators, we know that, but the show will go on, and we're so glad that racing has continued through what's been a very challenging time in 2020 for a lot of people. Obviously, there's been a lot of news in the last 24 hours. We will get to that shortly, I promise. Members, of course, this year have been given the chance to indulge in the ultimate at-home experience, and of course, you can watch all the action of the weekend on Channel 7 and racing.com from the comfort of your home. Why not still dress up? If you're a Richmond or a Geelong fan, no doubt you'll be in your team kits all day, add a fascinator and a hat and have a glass of bubbly and watch a weekend of fantastic sport. We're thrilled, as I mentioned, that you've joined us tonight as we celebrate some incredible women of our industry, being Ladies' Night In. We'll also hear from and recognise some of our major partners as well. There are a few ways you can get involved from home, so make sure you're using the chat function to connect with us, other members, and ask questions throughout the night. And also, hopefully you're wearing a bit of racing attire. We want you to get involved. Why don't you post your photos and you can win some great prizes. Share a photo on social media. Use the hashtag Ladies Night In and Cox Plate 100. And we've got two $100 vouchers from fashion label Dref by D for the ladies and Urban Tech for the gents, plus a bottle of Piper-Heidsieck champagne. How good is that? So make sure you're posting on social media. Plus, one lucky winner tonight will also win a dining experience for two people at the 2021 Ladbrokes Manikato Stakes. So getting excited already for next year. Okay, we've got a lot to get through. Let's kick things off. I'm so pleased to be joined tonight by Moonee Valley Racing Club's committee member, Sue-Ann Kaur. She's always the best dressed. You're looking fantastic in your racing kit tonight, Sue-Ann. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you too, Emma.
Busy week for everyone at
Indeed,
the Racing Club. We know that's going to look a little bit different this year. Give us an update from the club's perspective and, of course, on all the news that has come out in the last 24 hours?
Absolutely. Well, a mistake has been made and it's been corrected, and we need to obviously move on from that. And we look forward to the announcements on Sunday related to community restrictions and what's going to happen from there.
Yeah. So of course the government said that some owners and connections were allowed to be at the race. They reversed that decision, and the club fully respects that decision, obviously.
Absolutely, and dwelling on this subject is absolutely not going to change the outcome either.
Yeah. So encouraging everyone to get involved from home. You've brought some friends in, I see here, some very shiny ones at that. There's some nice looking friends, Sue-Ann.
Indeed, they're gorgeous, aren't they? So they're both the trophies for the Manicato and the gold Cox Plate, of course. And, our chairman, Don Casbols, takes great pride in ensuring that, we take a lot of attention to detail for these trophies because, as owners put in so much into the sport, and what they bring to the sport in paying for the horses and the upkeep for the horses, that funnels down to so many facets of the industry, from your feed merchants to your farriers to stable hands and to stables. So when they do win these big races, it's wonderful for them to be able to enjoy a beautiful trophy, isn't it?
Not to mention the hours of craftsmanship that have gone into just making those trophies.
Absolutely, and the 5 diamonds to represent Manicato's 5 wins, Group 1s.
I love it. I absolutely love it. There's also something very special to celebrate the 100th running of the WS Cox Plate, a limited edition stamp. Tell us about that and how people can get their hands on it.
How exciting is that, isn't it?
It's cool to have your own stamp.
It is pretty amazing. You're right up there with the likes of Wings and Black Caviar when you've got your own racing stamp, isn't it? So it'll be released tomorrow and it's available for purchase from Australia Post, and it is a limited edition, so get your hands on it.
That's very cool. Well, of course, this day and age, everyone's sending each other letters and postcards, so now you can have a Cox Plate stamp to go with it. I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Obviously, over the years, Moonee Valley has attracted some very big name international horses. This year being no different. Everyone seems to be vying for a slot in the field. It adds another dimension to the race, obviously. How good is that from a club's perspective to have so many of them wanting to come and race here?
Well, it's fantastic from a club's perspective. One being obviously ratings because of these horses racing overseas and especially in these competitive Group 1 races. But it also adds the element of wagering, like from last year when we had Lise Gracieux racing from Japan, coming from Japan. You've got the wagering element from the JRA as well. So it's great to be able to have these connections compete, at Moonee Valley, and to also showcase our race on an international level.
Be nice if the trophy stayed in Australia this year, though.
Well, we can't say that.
I can.
You can say that. You can say that.
No, it's great to see the field and so many international horses. Some also a little bit sad that they missed out in the field, but that's good for fodder and for us in the media as well. It's awesome to see the demand. You've enjoyed Group 1 success as part of an all-women syndicate. It's all about the girls racing, a global glamour a lot of people would have heard of. Tell us about that experience and how good that's been to see so many women get involved.
I think it's all about the girls racing is a fantastic way to showcase how women operate within the industry. Yeah. So the syndicate is started by a good friend of mine, 2 good friends of mine, Elaine Lawler from Golfs and Anna Seitz from Festivities Tipton. And they arrived at the Magic Millions, decided they wanted to buy a horse as part of the women's bonus, and then have the great Gay Waterhouse train the horse.
Who else? Can't have an all-girls syndicate and not have gay involved.
Exactly. And then they basically put together a syndicate of 40 women from 7 different countries and named the horse Global Glamour, of course. And she made us obviously very proud by winning 2 Group 1s and a couple of Group 2s, and she's basically the gift that keeps on giving because she's just brought so much joy, a great network amongst women, and that's forged some great friendships for life, basically.
I think the great thing about that horse too, it's given a lot of women that have been dying to get involved a lot of confidence to do just that. So good on you. Lastly, your message to all the members, owners, connections as we celebrate a very different Cox Plate this year?
Well, my message is thank you so much for your support. Without the support of owners, participants in the sport, and members, we don't have this great race, we don't have this great day, we don't have this industry. Everyone works together, and we're so thankful for that.
So good. Thank you so much, Sue-Ann. I know you're going to stick around, so I might chat to you again a little bit later on. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much.
And as Sue-Ann mentioned, the Valley is very lucky to have so many loyal partners that continue to support the club. Let's take a look at a story behind one of them.
Every great story begins with an encounter. Our own story is all about seduction. The seduction between Agathe Pertois and Florent-Louis Heidsieck. For her, he founded his champagne house and created a cuvée worthy of a queen. Attraction is stronger when you least expect it. It opens the eyes beyond any tradition. This serves as a guide to our cellar master as he selects and blends our champagnes. The truth behind our wines lies in their power of attraction, inciting their creator to marry the structure of a Pinot Noir with the fruits of a Meunier, the elegance of the Chardonnay with the timeless flavors of precious reserve wines. The audacity of our timeless seduction won over the heart of Marie Antoinette in Versailles and Marilyn in Hollywood, before reinventing itself as the muse of Jean-Paul Gaultier and Christian Louboutin. Since 1785, Piper-Heidsieck brings and binds destinies together like an invisible, immutable magnet, linking all these stories with a red dash. Like a stamp of red wax, Piper-Heidsieck marks each bottle with its seal. Behind the dash on each label lies a secret, a demonstration of love to be revealed only to the loved one. Piper-Heidsieck, a dash of seduction.
Getting a bit thirsty. Usually we're consuming plenty of bubbles trackside, but this year, of course, we're hoping you indulge in some Piper-Heidsieck champagne at home. The brand, as we saw, has a long and a remarkable story. Joining us all the way from Reims in France, please welcome General Manager for Piper-Heidsieck, Benoit Collard. Bonjour, Benoit. What kind of day is it where you are in Reims this morning?
Bonjour. Well, it is just the perfect day for an autumn in Champagne, which is basically the vineyards needs water, and the vineyards are very happy today.
As we saw, Piper-Heidsieck has and is one of the oldest champagne houses in the world. It pairs so perfectly with spring racing, don't you think? Why do you think that is?
Well, first, because it tastes good. It starts with it. The freshness, the balance, the combination between fruit character and elegance, that's what you expect to have with a glass of Piper-Heidsieck champagne. And I think that has to do with it. The other element probably has to do as well with the time. It takes time to dress up for spring racing carnival. It takes time to dress up to head to the race course. And actually it takes time to prepare a bottle of champagne. I mean, the bottle of Piper-Heidsieck would spend probably 3 to 4 years in our cellars before being ready and being able to, and so you can be able to enjoy it in Melbourne and wherever in Australia.
Some men at home are saying, oh, my wife takes 3 to 4 years to get ready to get out the door for the races too. But that's okay, because this year they get to enjoy it from home. Some of the viewers are doing just that tonight. They've got their Sunline hamper of goodies, and they're pairing their Piper-Heidsieck with some things. But I'd love to get your recommendations. What's the perfect kind of food pairing for a champagne?
Well, I must admit that within this Sunline hamper, you probably have the best combination for Piper-Heidsieck champagne in general. The Yarra Valley salmon pearls is a delicacy that I must say combines perfectly with the elegance, the slightly lemony character and lime character of the champagne. The goat cheese that was put in it is also, goat cheese is quite salty, and then that's why you need the freshness, the bubbles that refreshes your palate. And I think that's also going to be a perfect pairing. At the end of the day, to pair perfectly Piper-Heidsieck champagne, you just need to make sure that it is chilled perfectly around 8 degrees, so that it brings this freshness you expect. And then it's just the perfect time for you. There's no way to enjoy it.
There you go. Put the champagne in the fridge, get it ready, cool and crisp ahead of Saturday. Benoit, you've had, it's ladies' night, obviously, ladies' night in here at Moonee Valley Racing Club. You've had some pretty famous women adore your brand over the years. Can you tell me about some of your favourites?
Yeah, the whole story of Piper-Heidsieck, as you probably saw in the movie, really started as a love story. And the founder, Piper-Heidsieck, was lucky enough and smart enough to convince one of the great women of the 18th century, Marie Antoinette, the Queen, to endorse the brand and to really appreciate it. And it's really kicked off the whole story. But it's not just about Marilyn Monroe or Marie Antoinette, all those women that couldn't stop enjoying our champagne. It has to do as well with women behind the brand and behind the house. And one that I can think of, apart from, of course, Mrs. Piper, who remarried Mrs. Heidsieck, who remarried Mr. Piper and gave the name to the house. I cannot think of anyone else but Yolande Dolan, who was who took over the house when her husband passed away after the Second World War, and she was really the one that brought the house back to where it was in the around the world.
It's so fascinating, and look, now I'm really thirsty, and I'm sure everyone at home can't wait to enjoy some champagne. And we're going to feel quite classy like Marie Antoinette on the weekend, I'm sure. You've actually got some fond memories here in Melbourne. What did you think of the races when you came?
Well, my first experience in Melbourne was for my MBA. I did part of my studies at the Melbourne Uni. And the first thing I remember is the spring racing carnival season was with a day off almost in Melbourne for the Melbourne Cup, and the whole thing around the Cox Plate, the whole atmosphere you have. This is something unique and fascinating. Yes, indeed, we have race courses in France, and we do enjoy it, but the whole buoyancy, the whole atmosphere, the whole energy you have in Australia is quite unique. And every time I head to Melbourne, around 3 times a year, normally, except for 2020, every time I'm amazed by that. And especially at this time of year, I'm trying to indulge myself for a day at the race course and take advantage of the whole atmosphere.
Well, with that outfit, you would be best dressed for sure. Thank you so much, Benoit. We look forward to welcoming you back to Australia very soon. Thanks for your time, and I'm sure many will enjoy opening a bottle of Piper-Heidsieck this weekend. A big thank you as well to them for their support. It's already been a huge week and a huge breakfast with the best, minus the breakfast this year, but an eventful barrier draw nonetheless. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Can Ollie steer Russian Camelot to victory from the outside? Well, he sure has his work cut out for him, and not to mention some fierce competitors, and we'll look closer at the field shortly with Racing.com's Jane Iveal. But first, being Ladies' Night In, it's fitting we celebrate 3 Of the many women in the racing industry, they all have inspiring stories, and tonight we'll get a glimpse of what life is like working in their roles. Joining us in the studio, who we'll chat to firstly, is the Wakefield Club's 2020 Lady of Racing winner. I've had the chance of meeting you a couple of times, Fiona McIntyre. I'm so excited to hear about your work as a retrainer of off-the-track horses. It's obviously a field that's getting lots of media attention now, but you've been working in this field for many years. Can you tell me about your role?
Yes, for sure. I've been involved with off-the-track horses for as long as I can remember. It's something I'm incredibly passionate about and love. It's just so satisfying taking these racehorses, retraining them and then giving them a purpose post-racing. There's nothing quite like it.
What does a career for a retired racehorse look like in some of the off-the-track programs?
So there's a number of things. Depending on the horse, we basically look at the horse and see what is the horse suited to, not what can we suit that horse to. So they can be competitive horses through show jumping, eventing, dressage, show riding, or they can just be a pleasure horse or a companion horse. The opportunities for them, they really are endless. They've got so much to offer.
So good. And you also juggle this whilst working full-time as well,
right.
I should mention. Racing Victoria have thrown their support behind retraining off-the-track horses. Let's take a look at this.
We're here.
Beyond the barriers.
Behind the scenes.
Sleeping with one eye open.
So we're there as every foal is born.
We're here checking every horse before every race.
And investing millions in research and technology.
To reduce injuries every day.
We're here retraining and rehoming racehorses so they're ready for their second chapter.
From first strides
to life long after racing.
We're here for the horses.
That's awesome. Now, you're an accredited and an acknowledged Racing Victoria retrainer. How do you come across these horses? How do they find themselves in your programs? What's the process?
So there are a few ways that it comes about.
Yeah.
People can either contact Racing Victoria and the equine welfare team, and they can help, facilitate where that horse goes and which trainer that they're best suited to. However, all our details are on the website, so if someone looking to retire their horse, they can go on and they can look through the list of retrainers. There's a little spiel and a little bit of information about everyone on there, so that's another way. But another way, I get contacted directly from either owners or trainers, asking for help to take on their horses, which is fantastic.
Because the owners and trainers grow incredible bonds with these horses.
Absolutely.
And they want to maintain a relationship and obviously look after them in care afterwards. And you've had some great success. What horses are you currently looking after? And tell us, maybe share some of the stories of horses that have gone on to achieve a whole new career.
Yeah, so possibly the one horse that's known best is at this point in time is Precedence. I don't think I need to explain his racing credentials. I think they speak for themselves, but he has just been so amazing. He's taken to his second career like a duck to water. This year in particular, with COVID, like everybody else, life sort of, as we knew it, come to a standstill. Same everywhere around the world. So we had the opportunity to enter Royal Windsor Horse Show virtually. So it's the first time they've ever opened that up to the world. So I thought, well, why not enter Precedence and another one of my off-the-track horses, Caravan Rolls On, who came from the UK.
Yeah.
And their Precedence won, which was,
He's good at doing that.
Oh my gosh, it was just the most exciting experience, and so proud of him. He just, worldwide being recognised for the amazing thoroughbred that he is, was just so thrilling.
And how does it work with so Racing Victoria obviously have thrown a lot of support behind it. Then who funds their careers? Because it costs a lot of money to upkeep all these amazing horses, but so many people behind the scenes are passionate about it. How does that all work?
So each free trainer has their things set up a little bit differently.
Yep.
Me personally, the majority of the horses that I have, I pay for myself.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why I work full time.
That's amazing though, because you can feel your passion, and when you talk about it, your face lights up. You're so passionate about these horses.
Yeah, absolutely. But and it's wonderful because, as you've already touched on, these horses mean so much to a lot of people. So even when I catch up with the trainers, previous owners, strappers, stable staff, how the horse is going, they love hearing how they're going and following them. And it just goes to prove just how much they mean to people.
I love it. Well, thank you for all the work you're doing. No wonder why you were recognised, of course, of the 2020 Lady of Racing. Well deserved. She brought some ribbons in.
Yes, I bought my these are from the UK.
Someone actually who also has a connection to show jumping and dressage, and look, now she's in a whole new career, is of course Victorian assistant trainer for Chris Waller's stables. You might have heard of him, is Jo Taylor, and she's going to join us now. Hi Jo, how are you?
Good, thanks Emma. How are you?
Good, thank you. So I actually didn't know that you grew up in South Africa and represented South Africa in show jumping. How on earth did you end up in the racing industry?
Well, like you said, the family's been involved in horses all my life. My aunt had a riding school, and that is obviously how I was introduced. And then my granddad used to own racehorses, a couple, and my uncle then became a trainer, and I started with him. Used to ride a little bit of track work, learn to ride track work before school in my final year, and then after that, the rest is history.
It's so cool. Now, Chris Waller actually sponsored you to come to Australia to work for his stable back in 2011. How did that relationship start, and how has your role grown with the stable since?
Yeah, so I was fortunate in 2008 to join the then leading trainer in South Africa called Charles Laird, and worked for him for 3 years. And one of the fellow assistant trainers there, Peter Muscat, he'd actually come over and had been assistant to Chris for a little while. And I was looking to get out of South Africa, do something different. And he contacted me and asked whether I'd consider to come to Australia, and originally just came as a track rider. And like we said, Chris sponsored my visa, and I came over in November 2011. So it all just evolved from there. Started as a full-time track rider, then started traveling Chris's horses after a year. Did that for 4 years, which was a phenomenal experience. I was fortunate enough to travel all over Australia, as well as a couple of international stints to Royal Ascot and to Hong Kong, before now basing myself in Melbourne permanently since July 2016.
Well, Chris and his family, they're remarkable people, and they obviously trust you immensely and believe in your capability. You've tried out lots of different things, but what's it been like for you behind the scenes, and especially at this time of year, to be part of his stables?
Yeah, it's such an honour working for Chris, and like we said, sort of he was already champion trainer in Sydney for a number of seasons before I joined him, but then we've just gone from strength to strength, and to watch the stable grow every year and having a bigger presence in the likes of the Spring Carnival, it's honestly such an honour to be associated with his stable and the fantastic staff that we have behind us that work tirelessly day in and day out. And this year in particular with COVID, I think everybody has truly done a phenomenal job to keep racing going and keeping so many people employed, and still getting great results.
And we're just thankful that you've stayed up late enough to talk to us, because I know you've got a very early start in the morning. Look, obviously some big name horses have come out of the stables. Of course, 4 times Cox Plate winner Winx, the Autumn Sun, Caulfield Cup winner from Saturday, Very Elegant. Surely you've got to have some favourites amongst the stables. Is it one of those superstars, or is there someone else that's caught your eye and captured your heart?
Yes, it's, when you work with so many of them, they've all got their own personalities. So it's only natural to have a couple of favourites or build up relationships. I think the very first one was Shootout. He played a very big part in probably the reason I stayed in Australia. I won't deny that I really struggled the first while. It was a big adjustment from what I did in South Africa and how it adjusted here, and immediately really had a good affiliation with him. And Chris fortunately trusted me to ride him from basically his first day in the stable. So he was a very big influence on the reason I stayed and have now gone on to be with Chris for this long. And then Brazen Beau was very special as well to me, afforded me a trip to Royal Ascot in England. So, and unfortunately we couldn't win there on the day, but we did run second in a Diamond Jubilee, which was still a very proud moment. And then haven't really been riding much work the last couple of years. We've sort of been more full on with the stable expanding. But since Humidor has joined our stable, I think everybody around the stable will be able to tell you that he certainly gets a lot of spoils from me, and just love his quirks. And the day that he won on the Fian Stakes was certainly one of the most thrilling days I'd say I've had the pleasure of experiencing on a racetrack.
Well, no doubt after he missed out on the Cox Plate last year, you're very excited that Humidor joins Colding in the lineup from your stable in, of course, the 2020 Ladbrokes Cox Plate. I know Chris gets emotional at the best of times, and you all do because of the connection, but what would that mean to you guys to win a Cox Plate with one of those horses?
Oh, it would just be unreal. I think with especially Humidor pushing Winks quite close, that in 2018 or 2017, sorry, I believe it is, to have him now as part of our banner, I think you wouldn't be able to script a better fairy tale than if he were able to salute on Saturday. So that would be a very sentimental win for us, I believe. But either way, if Colding can get the job done for our stable to add a 5th Cox Plate, and especially the Centennial, would just be phenomenal.
We won't tell Colding that you have a favourite. We won't say a word. But it's very obvious. Joe, I want to wish you all the best. And I also heard I had to wish you good luck on a personal goal. Are you training for a half marathon? Are you crazy? Do you ever sleep? What is this that I've heard?
During this whole pandemic and being locked up, and my brother in South Africa actually challenged me to do a half Ironman with him, which is the triathlon. So it would be a 1.9k swim, a 90k bike, and then a half marathon, which is a 21k run. So in my madness, I agreed to that, which was meant to be in June of next year in South Africa. But obviously with the restrictions, I'm not too sure what travel's going to look like. However, I've been roped into moving that date forward, and I am in fact doing an event on 21 February in Geelong. So after this event, I'm actually headed home, and I've got an hour on the bike for tonight.
Oh my goodness, Joe, you're a superstar. Hey, I want to set you this task. If Humidor wins the 100th Cox Plate, make it a full marathon, okay?
I'm in.
There you go. Good on you. Thank you so much. Good luck for this weekend. Now, I want to introduce you to another star on the rise. Georgina Cartwright is in her 5th year of her jockey apprenticeship. She actually was studying accounting, and then she got the bug for horse riding. So here we go. We're going to hear a bit more about her story. I know she's just finished riding in Ipswich, so we hope that she's there with us. Georgina, have you still got your silks on or what? There you are.
Yeah. Sorry, I was in the last race at Ipswich, so.
How'd you go?
It was a bit of a rush. No, unfortunately, no winners, but a couple ran really well, so can't complain.
Well, I did want to ask you, what made you give up accounting well, I have an idea, probably the adrenaline rush, I imagine. But how'd you find yourself on the back of a thoroughbred?
My brother was a jockey. He is a jockey, and I finished school, went to uni, and thought I'd better do the right thing, what my parents wanted me to do and study, and did 2 years of that, and after about a year of it, I was also working at an accounting firm as well. So I sort of got a feel for the job as well while studying at uni, and I just wasn't really enjoying it. And I obviously, you know what it's like when you're at uni, you're sort of struggling for money a little bit. So I thought, I may as well earn a little bit of extra money early in the mornings and learn to ride track work. At that point in time, I was in Albury, and started off just riding a couple of mornings. I still remember my first horse that I rode on the track. I had no idea what I was doing. Didn't know what to do with my reins or anything. It was obviously, it's very different than equestrian riding, and it bolted. I was actually in a stock saddle too, so I'm not quite sure why I was put in a stock saddle, but yeah. And then I remember the first time I ever did evens, I thought, oh, this is the best thing ever. And evens obviously isn't very quick now when I look back, but I was in the office later on that day, and I was in a meeting, and it was all I could think about all day. So from that point onwards, I really tried to persuade my mum that I wanted to be a jockey, and she said no. And then another 6 months of sooking, she said, oh, okay, only if you go down to Geelong. And my brother was down in Geelong at the time with Jamie Edwards, and so I moved down there, and the rest is history.
Oh, good on you. Obviously, it's paid off. 49 Metro wins under your belt. I know you're in your 5th year of your apprenticeship. You've applied to have an extension to that. You've also seen a lot more women get involved since you probably started 5 years ago. What's that been like for you? Obviously, the jockey rooms are getting pretty full now.
Yeah, definitely. Even in the short time, like 5 years I've been a jockey, I've definitely noticed the ladies' jockey rooms have definitely become a lot more filled. A couple of meetings I've been at, we've had to actually have the males' rooms just because there's more females than males riding at the races. So there's definitely a lot of good up and coming female apprentices, and obviously it's an advantage because females are naturally lighter. So I think that's definitely brings a lot more females into the sport, and especially with the influence of Michelle Payne winning the Melbourne Cup, and plenty of other female jockeys like Linda Meach and Jamie Carr having plenty of success. It definitely encourages more females to become a part of the sport.
They're great ladies to learn from, that's for sure. The Valley's been a great place for you in your career so far. A horse that you've had a lot of success with is Miss Catherine. What do you love about riding at the Valley and those wins?
Oh, the Moonee Valley is my favourite track. I've had, like you said, a lot of success there, and the win on Miss Catherine, winning the Typhoon Tracy, was definitely my career highlight so far. And I just I tend to like to ride horses on pace, and the Valley definitely suits horses that's on pace. And I just seem to have a good affinity with Moonee Valley. It's a great atmosphere. You know, Friday night, it's a really when you're coming out of the mounting yard onto the track, all the crowds right up next to you, and you can hear them cheering from a mile away, and it's just a great atmosphere.
Would be a dream to ride in a Cox Plate, no doubt, for you one day.
Definitely. Out of probably the big few races, Cox Plate's definitely my choice that I would love to win. Obviously, it's pretty hard to try and get a ride in the Cox Plate, but I'll definitely endeavour, hopefully one day, to have a ride in it. And if not, a race that I'd definitely love to try and win is the Albury Gold Cup. It's my hometown cup, but obviously Cox Plate's at the top of my list. But if I don't make it to that, I would definitely love to win the Albury Gold Cup.
You're certainly putting in the work to get there. You've done 3 quarantines in the last 6 months to get rides all across the country. Are you a sucker for punishment?
Yeah, well, the last time I did quarantine was when I've just moved up to Brisbane for 3 months, and that was actually hotel quarantine, so that was a new experience. But, I'm pretty much 3 times now I've done it, so I seem to get through it pretty easily, and I'm pretty much a pro at it now, so I think I wouldn't have any more trouble doing it in the future. But hopefully, COVID's on the way up, the way down now, and we're hopefully working through it.
Oh, good on you, George. Hey, off the track, I heard you're actually very good at baking, and to me that doesn't really sound like a good hobby for a jockey to have when you're constantly trying to make weight. So you love to bake. What's your favourite thing to bake?
Everyone who knows me knows that I love sweets, anything sweet. And my favourite, well, obviously my perfected product at the moment is caramel slice. I think I've got it perfect. But yeah, I love to try and bake things in my spare time and take them into work or to the races, try and fatten all the other jockeys up, and I can ride light, so you know it's to my advantage if they're obviously a little bit heavier from all my baking.
That is brilliant. I'll send you my address. You can send some my way. Caramel slice sounds pretty delicious to me. George, I'll let you go shower, get changed. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to all the ladies for being part of our panel this evening. It has been so good, and there's more to come after this.
I am the fabled turf, home of the race where legends are made. 2,040 meters as the sun starts to fade. I am the conundrum, unique in every way. Many have tried to conquer me, with their dreams taken away. I have summoned royalty, kings and queens of the past. The school is where you make your move, but be sure you can outlast. The roars of the crowd are deafening, whilst alas, this year from afar, it won't impact your legacy as you go from a champion to a star. 99 runnings I have witnessed, heroic feats on display. Could it be, just maybe, Cox Plate 100 will be your day?
This time of the year, milliners will generally be frantic finishing off headwear for women and men across the country. Sadly, for many creatives in the industry, it's meant a huge pivot was necessary, and I'm really excited that we can support a beautiful lady that I see often at the races, milliner and now mask maker, Kim Fletcher. How
are you?
Good, thank you. It's good to see you. I have really felt for everyone across the creative industry.
Yeah, it's hit pretty hard.
It has hit hard, and I just wanted to touch base with you. How has this time of year looked different, obviously, from past spring, without stating the obvious, obviously, but what have you been able to do?
Yeah, I suppose it's a case of just having a look and seeing what is out there that can be done. And like most people that own a sewing machine, as soon as COVID sort of came on the scene and we knew that we were going to be struggling selling hats, it was a case of get that sewing machine out and start making masks. And then obviously making it compulsory in Victoria meant that there was a business opportunity. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's not a huge market, but it is something, and it gives purpose.
Yeah.
To be able to do so, yeah, and also
keeps
an outlet.
Your hands busy this time
outlet
of year.
For that creative energy that we've got, yeah, for sure.
You've brought some masks in for us. I get you to hold some of those up as we chat.
They're a bit different.
They're fun. I really like them. Obviously, racing and fashion go hand in hand.
Yes.
How have some of your big supporters that obviously probably buy from you every year, how have they supported you? Have people bought ahead for next year? And
yeah, they have. It's been wonderful. Look, you always find that people step up, and it's one of those things where I've had customers that are buying hats even though they've obviously got nowhere to wear them. And one of my clients who buys one hat each year, she came in and she bought 30 masks.
Aww.
And I said, well, what on earth are you going to do with 30 masks?
She'll give them to friends and family.
Yeah, the first 10 she gave to friends and family, and then she's involved in a charity that do give out meals to the homeless. So she gave them to the charity. So people find a way. Yeah.
That's awesome. Show me some of these masks. So how long did that take you to make the sequin number?
This was a bit fiddly, but yeah, probably about half an hour. But,
it's very cool.
It's one of those things. It's a case of, yes, okay, it actually does form the function that it's meant to in terms of it's got the 3 layers and it's got the 100% cotton, but then we put the layer of sequins over it. So it's got a bit of personality.
Well, we have to find ways. People can't see our smile anymore, so we've got to, show a bit of personality. I like the polka dot one too. Very fun.
And it's double-sided, of course, so you can reverse it. But look, it's one of those things. Obviously, with fashion, it's an expression.
Yeah.
Showing people who you are, and as you said, when your mouth's covered, at least you can't see a smile, but it might make someone smile if they look at your face and you've got a mask on that's got a bit more character to it. Yeah.
I've seen though people all across social media this spring, they're getting dressed up at home and having a really. Sure. How much joy has that brought you to see all of that? Everyone's still getting dressed up and.
Well, I think it's just in the mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go and you'll feel low if you're just in your tracksuit and your Uggies and whatever else. But if you make an effort, then it comes across in your smile and just in your attitude. Yeah.
So good. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for your fun masks, showing us off that.
Look, it's one of those things, a bit of fun.
I love it. And do you know what? Please, if you can, if you know a milliner, please support our local creatives all across the country. If you're a race goer, you've got plenty of races. You're going to be there every weekend next year. So think ahead, plan your outfits and support the people that have been a part of our racing industry for so long. Thank you so much, Kim. Well, as we just heard, we've all been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic in one way or another, but spare an extra thought for those families with a seriously ill child navigating through these tough times. Thankfully, Ronald McDonald House Charities are there for kids like Thea and her family. Touching, isn't it? As we just saw, Ronald McDonald House Charities Victoria and Tasmania are there to support families through incredibly difficult times, and this year the proceeds from the sales of our Cox Plate Carnival charity pin go to support kids just like little Thea. The target this year is to raise $35,000. To do that, we need your help, and to tell us all about how we can get involved in Ronald McDonald House Charities Victoria and Tasmania CEO Peter Bishop joins me. Peter, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Little Thea, isn't she just beautiful?
Delightful, and it's great that we're able to be there in probably the family's greatest time of need.
And I'm sure even more need in this year with all the trying circumstances. What's the feeling amongst all the families you're helping, and how much more up against it are they than they would usually be?
Well, they're up against it, and we've had to reduce our numbers. That was an example of a family that was here before COVID, came along in March, but they were with us for 287 nights. But for a lot of our families, they're used to hard times. They're very resilient, and like Thea and her mum, Desiree, they were able to get by and able to return home. But it has been a very hard year for us as an organisation. Been obviously impacted by events, but great to have the support of the Moonee Valley Racing Club.
Can you tell us about some of the practical things that your team does for families like the Pye family that we just met?
Sure. Well, across Victoria, Tasmania, we have over 102 rooms for families. Yeah. Obviously, we're a home away from home. All the facilities that you would need at home, playrooms, laundry, dining rooms, kitchens, play areas outside. It's all there for the families, in their greatest time of need to be able to use those facilities as best they can.
And as we saw, our target is $35,000 through sales of our little Cox Plate Carnival charity pin. Where will that money go? Where will it be allocated?
Well, that money will be to support our operations.
Yep.
Where pre-COVID we were constantly full, and at times we did have a waiting list. So we need to continuously put back into our facilities so that they're up to standard for families every time they come. And a lot of our families do repeat visits throughout the years.
I imagine your job at times can be extremely tough, but also incredibly rewarding. What's one of your favourite things about this role, and how have you seen your team come together, I imagine, over the last 6 months?
Oh, I suppose this year it's been very difficult, and like no other year, we've had new diagnoses of cancer, leukemias, new heart patients. Sadly, we've lost some children, and some very special children who are very important to the volunteers and the staff. But to be able to support the families and see the generosity and see the empathy that we're able to display has been first class.
Oh, you do an incredible job. Most important question probably of the night: how can we help? Where can we donate? Where can we buy the pin? Tell us everything. We've got to get to that $35,000.
So the pins is to go to the website myvalley.com.au, and also to be able to text Cox Plate, and that's 0400 622 622.
Awesome. So thevalley.com.au. Make sure you're buying your Cox Plate Carnival charity pin. Peter, thank you so much for all that you do. Please thank your team, and we're sending all of our love and thoughts to all of your families that are in Ronald McDonald House Charities this weekend. Well, switching gears now as we look ahead to the 100th running of the WS Cox Plate. Try and say that really fast. There's another race that's set to get people talking. It's the greatest Cox Plate ever.
14 all-time greats are coming together for one unmissable virtual race. Who are you backing in Ladbrokes' greatest ever Cox Plate? Head to Ladbrokes for all the details and watch the race on 7/2. Ladbrokes, back yourself.
Very clever, isn't it? Ladbrokes are the principal partner of the Valley to celebrate the 100th running of the WSC. It's hard to say, WS Cox Plate. They have developed a very exciting promotion that everyone can get involved with. To tell us more about the Ladbrokes' greatest ever Cox Plate is Carl De Croo, Executive Director from Ladbrokes. Carl, this promotion looks like so much fun. Were you like a gamer growing up, and this was just like your goal to create your own virtual horse race? Where did the inspiration come from? I think you might be on mute, Carl. You might need to unmute your computer.
Sorry, I was waiting for
There you are. Now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's happened to everyone.
Hello to everyone.
That's okay.
I was making a case that I'm not a gamer. I'm certainly not that. But it has been a whole lot of fun pulling this project together. It's, to be honest, I'm not sure what I'm more nervous about is the running of the greatest ever Cox Plate on the Friday night, or the 100th Cox Plate on the Saturday. It's been a lot of work. From a lot of people here at Ladbrokes, and of course our partners at Moonee Valley, Racing Victoria, and Inspired Entertainment, and of course Channel 7 as well. So look, it's been a lot of work. We're almost at the starting gates now, so of course we don't know what the result's going to be. We know the race looks terrific. We know that much, and I think those that tune in for it on Friday night are going to really enjoy what we're bringing to the table. It's really fabulous, and to see all of those great names, iconic racehorses doing battle with each other around the Moonee Valley circuit. I think it's. I was asked earlier today, is it going to end some debates? And I'm not sure about that. It may start even more.
Yeah, I have so many questions. This is just blowing my mind. Firstly, you've got a telecast partner, so the race is going to be run live virtually on Channel 7, which is so cool. And then also, this would have taken so much time to develop, and you guys don't even know who's going to win. It's happening live. We have to reiterate that. It's just blowing my mind, Carl. I'm loving it.
Look, it's blowing mine a little bit too, to be fair. It's look, it has been exciting. I think we've worked with the Inspire Entertainment out of the UK. They've got a lot of experience in this space. They've already delivered a virtual Kentucky Derby and a virtual Grand National this year. And typically they would have flown out here, surveyed tracks, done all that kind of thing. Of course, with the challenges of COVID, that hasn't been possible. But I think they've done a remarkable job. They've used drone footage, archival footage to pull together the exact contours of the iconic Moonee Valley circuit, and then to build out these famous names in racing, the likes of Farlap, Tulloch, Dulcify, to within an inch, because they're all such famous horses. So if you get anything wrong, you're going to be in trouble. So we've done a lot of work to make sure that this is as close to the real thing as we can. But you're right, we don't know how it's going to unfold. There's a whole lot of historical data gone into an algorithm that's going to spit out a result. And we'll wait with a bated breath, just like everyone else, to see who will cross the line first. So, but we've been thrilled with the engagement that has been around the project. It really has been terrific. It started out probably about more so the horses that missed the race, and of course the inclusion of 3 international wildcards in Secretariat, Frankel and Deep Impact has caused plenty of a stir, as things tend to do happen on Twitter. But look, it's all added to the debate, and we couldn't be more pleased with how it's been received.
Racing fans aren't vocal at all, Carl, so I don't know where you're getting that feedback from. No, they'll definitely tell you what they think. No. Who came up with the field? Because that's a tough decision to make, and there was obviously, as you said on Twitter, lots of controversy. Whose job was it? You might not want to throw anyone under the bus, but who came up with the field? How was it decided?
I'm very happy to throw them under the bus, to be honest, because it absolves me of any blame. So I think that's been important. But no, look, we were fortunate. Greg Carpenter, of course, from Racing Victoria, the chief handicapper there, he was good enough to lend his expertise. Gary Crisp, who runs Timeform, and he's been critical in this process. He's helped work through all the data, and he's somewhat of a historian himself in his own right. Michael Brow, the chief from Moonee Valley, and then Dean Shannon, our own CEO, were the selection panel. And it's got to be said, even though there's been so much debate over the horses that didn't make the field, those 4 gentlemen, they were very close in their thinking. The top 10 was very clear cut. And Gung Sind was the last one into the field in terms of the formal winners of the Cox Plate, and there was a little bit of a gap to him. But look, it was not an easy process for those guys to work through, and I did love the comment from Greg Carpenter. His inbox had more criticism in it the next day when this field was released than after ever releasing the weights for the Melbourne Cup. So I think that gives you an indication of the kind of passion that's involved with this concept.
Oh, it's so good. Good on you guys for putting in all the time and the effort to make it. It's going to be very entertaining. Talk us through the current market pricing for the greatest Cox Plate ever.
Look, it's probably no great surprise that the majority of our market, and it's the first time that anyone's been able to offer a market of this nature on a virtual race, is of course with Winx, 4-time winner of the Cox Plate. And I think probably most importantly, most fresh in people's minds. We tend to default to what we've seen most recently. And of course, Winx was fabulous, winning those 4 Ladbrokes Cox Plates in a row. I think the other money, there's been definitely interest for Secretariat and Frankel, most strongly from the international contingent. And then there's been specking around Kingston Town and certainly Farlap, probably the most famous name in the race, the most iconic member of Australian turf history. And, while many of us never had the privilege of seeing him race, I think it's going to be just an amazing experience to see Big Red go around in all glory on Friday night.
So good. And Carl, it's pretty easy for punters to get involved. You've shown us the market. How can they have a bet?
Yeah, just go to ladbrokes.com.au. All the details are there. As you'd expect, we're promoting it pretty heavily, so won't have any difficulty finding it. And it is a bit of fun. Look, it's a $20 max bet novelty market. We're not in this one to make a stack of money or to lose a stack, hopefully, which we may still do if Winx crosses the line. But it's really more about, people like to back their opinion, have their say. And certainly on our platform, they like to put their money where their mouth is. So just an opportunity to have a bit of fun, of course, do it responsibly. And, there's an opportunity to put your money where your mouth is.
I'm excited because it will forever solve all of those conversations about who is the greatest and who would win. So now we're going to have an answer. It's going to be the best. Thank you so much.
Well, it will be one answer, but let's. I'm not sure that everyone's going to accept that as the definitive.
No one will ever agree.
Yeah, it'll be a good bit of fun.
Thanks, Carl de Croo and Ladbrokes. Pretty impressive, isn't it? You're going to stick around, Carl. A lot of excitement is, of course, building for Ladbrokes Manikato this Friday night and, of course, the Ladbrokes Cox Plate on Saturday. And our final guest is here to help us pick a winner. Racing.com Pick of the Yard commentator, former jockey and now form analyst, Jane Iville is joining me. And with a little guest. Hey, Jane, how are you?
I'm really good.
Matching animal print for Ladies' Night In. I love it.
Well, to be fair, she actually wasn't invited and she should be in bed right now, but I have a feeling she knew something was going on, so she certainly had her own ideas.
She's the guest of the night, Jane, and it is Ladies' Night In, so it is fitting. Hello. You're a great selector of contenders in the mounting yard. Tell us what we need to look for and especially what we need to look out for this Saturday.
Well, it makes it really hard this time of year because when you've got a race like the Cox Plate, it is a grand final for so many horses. So they're all there looking $100, or $1 million, I should say. So really, it's for me about having profiled them right the way through towards the Cox Plate and to have watched their progress and to really gauge how much improvement they've still got left in them and those sorts of things. Unfortunately, this year I haven't been able to get out to Werribee, so I haven't seen the internationals. Normally this time of year I would have already been and had a look at them and watched them work. So I feel like I'm just a little bit behind the eight ball this year in the fact that I'm going to see them for the first time when I turn up on the racetrack. But I've got a pretty firm idea about the Australian contingent. And look, I just think it's a really exciting race this year because it's just so even. We've got some really class horses running. Acadia Queen is looking outstanding, Russian Camelot. I think the key thing when you get to this level for a horse and what you need to be watching for in the mounting yard is a horse that's really nice and relaxed and settled and composed. What you generally see from a good horse is a horse that's confident and self-assured in the mounting yard. And I know it's probably a bit cliche, but the perfect example of that was Winx. If anybody ever watched her wander in the mounting yard, she just tucked her head on her chest and walked around with a lot of poise and a lot of composure.
She strutted,
she never let the occasion get to her.
She really loved to strut.
She certainly did love to strut her stuff, but that's what a good horse does because they rate themselves and they've got confidence and you want to see that in the mounting yard. I mean, there's lots of other things you look for as well. I like a horse that moves really well in the yard. Obviously, you want their coats to look immaculate this time of year. They've got to be fit, have that really good muscle definition. But most of these horses will on Saturday. So it really just comes down to who I think really holds themselves the best in the yard and who has that confidence and that poise and that composure. So the Cox Plate is really different probably to any other race you assess because we know they're all top line horses in their own right and they're all looking at their absolute peak.
Well, the big question before we get the market movers in the Cox Plate from Carl, the big question, Jane, is how are the horses going to go without the crowd atmosphere and the build-up and without singing Darryl Braithwaite horses before they, head out to the start? Is that going to affect them?
I think we're going to miss that more than they will. I'm a huge fan of Darryl Braithwaite singing before the Cox Plate, but actually, to be fair, it's probably been really beneficial to a lot of horses not having the crowds there because it just means that they don't have that built-up excitement and tension in the atmosphere. So for them, it's probably been a blessing in disguise, not so much for us because we enjoy everything that comes with having a crowd on race course, but the horses themselves generally or some, not all, can get a little bit worked up with the crowds. But what is a real shame, and it's just unfortunate, the environment that we're in at the moment, is that there's not going to be people there to celebrate the horse that wins. And, being the 100th running of the Cox Plate, it's really historic, and it's just unfortunate that whoever wins won't have the crowd bringing them in. I'll be there clapping. There'll be a few of us there standing clapping the winner in, but yeah, it is just a bit of a shame.
Oh, well, everyone will just have to get on social media and use the hashtag CoxPlate100 so we can see all of the celebrations. Stay with us, Jane, because I want to get your tip, but Carl's still with us and he's got the market movers in the Cox Plate field. Who are your market movers, Emma. Carl?
Yeah, thanks, Emma. It's been really fascinating, to be honest, since the barrier draws came out yesterday. Obviously, for some time now, Russian Camelot's been a dominant favourite for this race. But since the wide draw yesterday, he's done nothing but drift. So he's out to $4.80 now in the Ladbrokes market. There was a bit of a tighten for Arcadia Queen, but we've seen a bit of a drift there again this afternoon. Now $5.50, touched $6 earlier, back into $5.50. So look, they're the two best found. Certainly there's been a lot of support, and it was interesting hearing from Jane there about the international contingent. It's really interesting because we haven't got to see a lot of these horses, and there's not a lot of mail out of Werribee at the moment, but certainly the most supported of the international contingent is definitely the Aidan O'Brien runner, Armory. Was opened at $5, touched out to $5.50, back into $5 with Ladbrokes. So they're the three most well found in the market. But I've got to say, probably the big mover today, and it was interesting hearing from the Waller camp earlier in our show, talking about Humidor. Well, it's actually the other Waller runner, Colding, that's attracted some very decent bets today. We took 10,000 each way on Colding today at $13. So a bit of a tighten there on Colding for Waller and J-Max. So I think that's one to definitely keep an eye on as we lead into the big race on Saturday.
What about the Manikato market for Friday night, Carl? Have you got an update for us there?
Yeah, look, Trekking is a pretty firm favourite there. Obviously ran so well in the Everest last week and now comes down to Melbourne. You would have to think if Trekking brings that sort of form to the Valley, will be extremely hard to beat. There has been some snipping, definitely Pippi you'd expect from lane one will jump out and run. It's been $7 into $6.50. And then there's a bit of specking at odds for a few others as well. We've seen some good bets for Diamond Effort today, 11s into 10s, and also Liar for the Freedman camp has been 17 into $15. So there's been some good specking of money for a number of runners there, and even late into this afternoon.
Awesome. Well, good on you, Carl. Good luck to you and the whole Ladbrokes team this Cox Plate Carnival. You're very busy this time of year. And quickly, Jane, before you go, I know little Miss is probably keen to go to bed, but everyone wants your tip. Firstly, who's your tip for the Manikato from what you've seen? Oh, you might be on mute too. This is just Corona 2020 for anyone working from home. Jane might join us after she's taken mute off. There she is. She was trying to do us all a favour with the baby noise. I thought it was quite adorable, actually, Jane. But who's your tip, Manikato, Friday night?
I think that if the rain stays away, that Trekking is definitely the horse to beat. He brings the right form. He looked outstanding prior to the Moya, and he really went and franked the form in the Everest. So on a dry track, Trekking is definitely the horse to beat. If it rains, I think it really opens this field up, and I think that there's probably some value to be had if the rain does come. Diamond Effort's a horse that goes really well on that type of surface. I'm a big Pippi fan. I know there's a question mark whether she's as strong over the 1,200 metres, but she'll certainly handle a rain-affected track probably better than a horse like Trekking. I think what's so great about the two Group 1s that the Valley have managed to get, the fields are actually quite competitive and very even. So there is a horse you like, there is certainly some value to be had.
So good. And finally, before we let you both get to bed, because I know you've got a huge weekend ahead that you've got to prepare for, who's your tip for the 100th running of the Cox Plate on Saturday?
Well, I just think that Russian Camelot has all the characteristics of a really, really good horse. And to be fair, it might be 12 months too early for him, but I'm not jumping off him yet. I think forward, he's got to be a horse that you've got to look at each way in a Cox Plate. He grows another leg at Moonee Valley and the value is there.
So good, Jane. Thank you so much. So many horses in the field. Anyone could win the Cox Plate. Jane, thank you for your time. Good luck this weekend. Thanks for joining Ladies Night In. I love it. See, she's probably a future form analyst, I think. Maybe a jockey, who knows? I want to thank you all again for your company tonight. It's not over yet. We've got some prizes to give away. So our social media prizes, the team's drawn them out of the barrel here. Well, they haven't, because they've been watching on social media and they've seen you use the hashtag and you're dressed up at home. Samantha Ryan and Felicity Worth, you have both won Dref by D prize packs, and also from Urban Tech, $100 vouchers and a bottle of Piper-Heidsieck champagne. And, drum roll please, from myself, Jade Isgro, you have won dining package for 2 for the 2021 Manikato Stakes. So that is, mark it in your diary, because you've got a date next year and something to look forward to. We're gonna have some questions. Are we having questions? No questions tonight, but we hope that you have been chatting amongst yourselves in the chat function. That does conclude this evening's event. A very special thank you to all our valued members, partners and special guests that joined us tonight. For all the ways that you can get involved with the celebrations at home, go to thevalley.com.au and of course tune into racing.com and Channel 7 for all the Cox Plate action this weekend. Make sure you're dressing up at home and popping some champagne. And look, as we leave you, here's a look at some of the contenders as we begin the countdown to the legendary 2020 Ladbrokes Cox Plate Carnival.
Kingston Town can't win. Here come the New Zealanders, our Waverley Star and Bone Crusher. They've raced to the lead, 600 out. Have they gone too early?
Sadely on the outside, Falane strikes back, dead heat. Northerly after Sunline down the outside from Viscount. They got very tight.
But So You Think wins his second. Bart's done it again. Seamus Award, the maiden has won it.
Humidor on the outside is trying hard. It's Weeks in front. Humidor's coming at her.
Tobin Bronze's last run in Australia is a success.
But the great grey guns in front. Dulcifies Rubicon.
Octagonal Fields of over, and the land of the rising sun wins the Cox Plate.